Hello and welcome to the hard sell, where the stick in the swill-bucket rattles back. Now I'm up here. Yes, it's time to take a long overdue look at the world of cats. Our feline colleagues. We all know the history.
In ancient Egypt, felines were worshipped because the Egyptians thought they were funny. Many of today's familiar relics are cat monuments. These vast cat heads were built underground and seen by no one.
Dogs are a man's best friend. Cats are a cross between casual acquaintances and outright moochers. Like dogs, mankind tamed and domesticated the cat to act as a guardian and pest control against certain smaller menaces, chiefly grain-eating rodents and birds. However, unlike dogs, if we were expecting companionship for them, we were to be sorely disappointed. Dogs hunt in packs and have an instinct trending towards collective action. Cats look after number one. It's been said that dogs have owners and cats have staff, and that's pretty accurate. They get away with it by being adorable, the bastards. All that feline diffidence kind of bit them on the arse for a while, though, because us humans just assumed that if they were so bloody independent, they could just fend for themselves. And the idea of specialised cat food didn't even occur until the mid-19th century. Up to around the First World War, we used to just feed our cats and dogs, for that matter, on chunks of flesh salvaged from knackers' yards, or scrapings from abattoir walls, sold from wheelbarrows for pennies and boiled. Eventually we figured out that our precious animals had their own specific dietary needs, and more importantly that people can be charged to acquire them. As late as the early 60s, however, tinned cat food was a relatively new concept, at least judging by this early Whiskers joint.
Your cat. Are you really doing your best for him by cooking his food yourself? You see, whenever you boil meat for your cat, nourishment is lost, boiled away in the water. Now see how the meat and liver in new Whiskers is prepared. Whiskers is pressure cooked in the tin to seal in all the nourishment. Yes, pressure cooked, so nothing is lost. That's why the meat and liver in Whiskers builds you a cat to be proud of.
Yes, apparently circa 1960 people were still boiling strips of failed racehorse to feed their cats. Presumably the cats were eating them. And then Whiskers came along and spoiled everything. Now the furry bastards expect gourmet chunks in jelly when once they were content with hocks of sea biscuit. Thanks, Mars Incorporated. Yes, Mars Incorporated are the makers of Whiskers. American viewers of a certain age, if any, might remember Cal-Can cat food, one of the first big-name brands, launched in LA in the 30s. It came over to the UK in 1958, but since Cal-Can was a stupid name, someone came up with Whiskers instead, which was so much better, it eventually replaced the old name worldwide. Whiskers is very much the OG of cat food, the dominant brand, the default in most people's minds. Their most famous gambit was to brag that cats liked them best, and they had the numbers to prove it.
Which food do most cats prefer? Well, here with me are 10 owners who've tried a brand new cat food in their own homes. Now, owners, which did your cats prefer? Their normal tinned food or the brand new one? There's your answer. 8 say the brand new one. A food so rich in high-quality meats, there's only one name for it. New Whiskers Super Meat. And 8 out of 10 owners say their cats preferred it. New Whiskers Super Meat.
Not to mention the Vox Pop interviews with doughy ordinaries.
When it's Whiskers time, she's there, suddenly, by my feet. She prefers it to anything. If I change from Whiskers, I'd have to change the cat. Whiskers is her daily habit. It's lovely and firm and meaty, not runny, just right. It's worth every penny, it really is. She really enjoys all Whiskers. If she could, she'd get in the tin to check that every bit's gone. Nothing is wasted. Love and Whiskers to pussy are 2 words that go together.
Whiskers Super Meat. In tests, 8 out of 10 owners said their cats preferred it.
But as I could tell, it was never precisely the classic 8 out of 10 cats prefer it, perhaps because, put that way, it's unprovable. It was always 8 out of 10 owners reckon their cats prefer it, in as much as they can tell what their cats are thinking, which they cannot. By the late 80s, legal issues and complaints to the Advertising Standards Authority have resulted in the slogan becoming bloated with weasel words to the point that it read more like a legal disclaimer than a snappy, memorable catchphrase.
Whiskers keeps getting better. That's why in tests, 8 out of 10 owners who expressed a preference said their cats preferred it.
So it was shortened back to an unprovable but sufficiently vague for legal purposes assertion.
Cats instinctively know what they like. Today's Whiskers, so succulent and tastier in every variety, full of everything your cat needs every day. Ask your cat, he'll show you he loves today's Whiskers. Cats instinctively know what they like and what's good for them. Cats would buy Whiskers.
Cats would buy Whiskers, if cats understood the concept of trade and exchange, and the difference between brand names. In which case, frankly, their brand loyalty would be the least of our worries. They've gone down other roads since then, most famously at the turn of the century when they brought out the very first advert specifically aimed at the cats themselves. With input from leading zoologists and fellinologists, presumably, they constructed a commercial specifically engineered to appeal to a cat's perceptions, sense receptors, and comprehension of the world. And here it is.
And now, from Whiskers Singles, the first ever commercial for cats.
Whether it actually communicates terribly well on cat level is obviously impossible for a mere human to say. It certainly feels right in a strange sort of way. It's genuinely eerie and alien, communicating on a frequency beyond human comprehension, but not so far beyond that we can't recognise parts of it on a superficial level. The cat I had at the time was vaguely interested, as I recall, and later on, as if to justify such an odd idea, they brought out a reaction video.
A few weeks ago, Whiskers ran the first ever commercial for cats. Here's what happened. Well, 8 out of 10 cats preferred the Whiskers ad.
Of course, as any decent advertiser could tell you, finding the colours and the movements and the shiny things interesting isn't the same as getting the message to buy a specific product. And in this particular case, such a message is incomprehensible to the stated target audience anyway. But then this wasn't really an advert for cats at all. Of course it wasn't. Cats don't have money. It's for humans, just like every other advert, only by proxy. Which is still pretty innovative. Another cat food of long standing is, or rather was, the functionally named Catto meat, launched aside its canine sibling Kenno meat in the late 50s, shortly after Whiskers. Catto meat's main tactic revolves around their mascot character, a white cat named Arthur, white so as to stand right out in 405-line monochrome. That's how old the campaign is.
Ah, here's Fred and a few of his friends. They've come to see the famous Arthur. Some of them come to see Arthur eat his cat meat, and some of them come to see the meat and liver and all those essential vitamins. Vitamins A, E, B1, B2, B12. Of course, most of them don't know about the vitamins. They eat cat meat just because they like it. Arthur's very generous with his cat meat. Fame hasn't changed him at all.
His shtick was eating the stuff straight out of the can with a lily-white paw. And this gave rise to a particularly gruesome urban legend that they'd actually defanged the poor cat so that he couldn't eat face down like normal cats and had to use his paw. Well, fortunately, that's bollocks. Although those he probably did have removed. But no, paw dipping is perfectly normal cat behaviour, just because cats are prissy. But my cat drinks from her paw rather than her bowl because she's a precious princess, not because we've removed all her teeth. The back of my hand will attest to the fact that she definitely still has all her fangs. Arthur, 3 generations of him in fact, was something Whiskers never had, or to be fair, ever needed. An iconic symbol other than the logo.
Arthur always lets everyone know how much he loves cattermeat. With its delicious meat and jelly and no added cereal or fillers, it's the only one he'd recommend. And because of this, he's built up quite a following. Even though the last thing they want is his autograph. Cattermeat. Arthur wouldn't put his name to anything else.
He must have spent hours put together eating his dinner out of those cans. He even became famous enough to make cameos advertising other things.
Arthur's popped out to buy a television. Ah, these look interesting. And naturally, he pops in for a closer look. But then, the sun comes out. Fortunately, Arthur spotted the 21S1 from Panasonic, the only TV with cats, contrast auto tracking system, which means the picture automatically adjusts to changes in light and keeps the Panasonic just to Arthur's liking. The Panasonic 21S1 with cats.
We've seen laundry detergents and washing machine companies team up to advertise each other, but cat food and home entertainment is a new one. Although if you look closely, you can tell this isn't quite a full-blown collaboration. Notice the lengths they go to make sure you never quite see the cat food's brand name. Still, and perhaps surprisingly, Arthur and his brand never quite overtook Whiskers, with their box pops and their survey numbers. By the early 90s, Cat-O-Meat was lagging behind so much that they dropped the name altogether, despite nearly 4 decades of useful service, in favour of bringing the advertising mascot front and centre.
Arthur's invited his 3 nephews round for a relaxing evening. A bite of their favourite cat food, and then a video. But unfortunately, the film proved to be a little too scary. Arthur's no other cat food is worthy of the name.
Didn't save it, however, and it gradually faded away until becoming extinct altogether in the early '80s. Arthur wasn't the only game in town for Cat-O-Meat, at least until they named the product after him, when they really painted themselves into a corner advertising-wise.
Arthur's decided that because choice chunks are so different, they deserve a different kind of advertising. Maybe not. Arthur's Choice Chunks. No other cat food is worthy of the name.
In the early 80s, this diabetic baiting saccharine set up with a little girl having an adorability fight with a whole litter of kittens.
Oh, Smarty, I'll miss you so much. But I'll come and visit you every day at Aunt Peg's. She'll cuddle you and see you get your Cat-O-Meat. Mummy told her you like it because it's full of good things.
Good things make it firm and meaty. That's why Smarty loves all 8 of them.
And you'll love Aunt Peg. Only yesterday, Mummy said she's ever so catty.
Veronica.
Cat-O-Meat. It shows how much you care.
And for spin-off brands, Arthur wasn't necessarily needed, or indeed real cats at all.
I'm an ordinary cat in an ordinary house. I'm nothing special, never even caught a mouse. But give me Cat-O-Meat VIP and see what it does for me. It's the best nosh I've ever had. 100% meat, now that can't be bad. A very important pussycat, that's me. Every time I get Cat-O-Meat VIP.
I'm not sure if Cat-O-Meat VIP caught on, but if it didn't, it definitely wasn't for want of trying on the advertiser's part. The early to mid-80s produced some great animated commercials, especially in this country, because a lot of future kingpin animators were learning their trade in our advertising industry, often under the likes of Richard Williams, Oscar Griot and others. This one comes from Eric Goldberg, a bona fide animation legend and, yes, Richard Williams alumnus, best known for being in charge of the genie in Aladdin. You know, one of Disney's greatest characters ever. Protoplasmic traces of the genie can be seen in Tommy here, particularly his transformative dancing at the end. Although perversely, perhaps the most impressive part, is right at the very end, when he ends up as an actual relatively normal-looking cat, without very much dissonance in the transition.
100% meat in firm jelly, preferred in tests to any other cat food.
See if your very important pussy cat will agree. The best tasting cat food is Catamite VIP.
Speaking of animated cats, and relatively realistic ones, Felix is probably the second most famous individual advertising cat. A line drawing of a Jellicle, whose gimmick is that he's basically a real cat who does real cat things, except that his pupils never dilate.
Hello? Oh, hi. Yes? Oh, I see. Did you... Come on. Cats like Felix. Like Felix.
Apart from that, he's basically just a cat, which, as the slogan reveals, is kind of the point. If you recognise your cat in this one, and you do, because he basically acts like any cat does, buy it this. It's quite a neat piece of circular logic, really. The perfect cat food for a cat who is a cat.
Oh, Felix.
Oh, Felix. Oh, Felix.
Filled with delicious meaty flakes. Felix, as good as it looks, tastes so good, even Felix won't be able to resist it. Oh, Felix.
My cat's allergic to it. Go figure. Then, of course, there's the real top-of-the-line stuff from Sheba and the like. Defiantly expensive, single-serving gourmet compotes of salmon and shrimp for cats who are spoiled and don't care who knows it. Or more accurately, for owners who want to spoil their cats and don't care who knows it, because the cat doesn't really care either way. These are traditionally advertised with mood lighting, quiet storm balladry and professional models playing the owners, which can sometimes give rise to some disturbingly bestial imagery.
When I need you, I just close my eyes and I'm with
Sheba, delicious pieces of meat, chosen and prepared with tender, loving care.
It's only a heartbeat away.
Meanwhile, her husband is picking through a microwave lasagna for one. It's not as if the cat appreciates it, you know.
Just when I need someone to love me, just when I think the world's too
Sheba, delicious pieces of meat, carefully selected and prepared in the way your cat will love.
There you are in my heart, standing by me once again.
Sheba, the recipe of love.
Note that Sheba uses a British blue cat for their floppy, distinguished opulence. It feels like the kind of cat that would be at home curled up on a Louis XV's chair in some blue blood's mansion. A Persian chinchilla would fit the bill as well, but with the long white fur and the moustache and all, they're a little bit too obvious, even cliched as a rich person's cat. Of course, there's no reason a chinchilla, or a blue, or even a Siamese has to be fed on Sheba, no matter what the advertising suggests. They're all just cats in the end, and provided you haven't given them a taste for the expensive stuff, they're just as likely to eat something from the other end of the market, like kitty cat.
Kitty Cat Supreme, high in protein. To satisfy...
Oh, Mary Tam. Oh, what? Just because she's 30 years older than me and dead doesn't mean she wasn't lovely.
To satisfy a cat's appetite for life.
High protein kitty cat.
You couldn't have a fitter cat.
Notice how unsophisticated the advertising is down at this end of the market. Mary aside. A cat running about a highly artificial-looking environment while a completely standard jingle sings the product name over and over, all signalling to the viewer that this ain't Whiskers, but your cat will still eat it. Probably. If you're lucky. All of this is irrelevant to me either way because my cat's food is medically prescribed for a neurotic skin condition. We don't have to worry about what brand we buy and whether she'll eat it because we order it from the vet. Probably better off out of it, to be honest. She didn't even like Sheba. But she gets away with it, and it's ironically Sheba that understands why.
Oh baby, baby, feed me. Baby, feed me. Oh, feed me. Oh baby, baby.
Sheba. Resistance is futile.
It's not entirely fanciful. Felinologists don't actually know for certain what the physical mechanism behind the purr is, but they do know that cats can modulate them on a precise frequency to affect the human brain to give them what they want. Or to calm us down if we ever get annoyed with them, which we do all the time. Dogs have owners, cats have staff, or more accurately slaves, since they don't even pay us. Except in snuggles. This is all she does. You've been watching a Bob the Fish production. Thanks! If you haven't found it already, be sure to check out our website at bobthefish.org.uk. Literally hundreds of videos not unlike this one that will make you laugh, think and realise new things or your money back. Which works out great because they're all absolutely free. All of this is possible thanks to the not unique way that Bob the Fish productions are paid for by you, the viewing public, via Patreon. For a donation of as little as £1 a month, not only do you ensure that I still have food and shelter so I can carry on making these programmes, but you could become eligible for a whole host of cool extras. New video essays, special event live streams, all my content a week in advance, and my book on the history of the BBC, Rule the Waves, chapter by chapter as it's written. And some cake, if you go out and buy a cake and eat it while you're watching. And if you don't want to support on a monthly basis, you can make a one-off donation via coffee. It all helps stave off scurvy. bobthefish.org.uk. You make it what it is.